The young bride froze when she saw her childhood photo in the millionaire's hand during the wedding. The soft melody of a violin filled the decorated ballroom as Emma Carter swayed gently in her husband's arms. White roses cascaded from crystal vases on every table, and golden candles cast a warm glow across the polished marble floor. Her lace wedding dress shimmered under the soft lights, catching every flicker like stars trapped in fabric. Javier held her close, whispering something sweet in Spanish that made her smile. But even as she looked into his dark eyes, there was something distant in her expression, a shadow that even the joy of this perfect day couldn't quite erase. Emma had always carried that shadow. It lived in the blank spaces of her childhood, in the questions that had no answers, in the empty photo albums that started at age 5 and not a day before. She'd grown up in St. Catherine's Home for Children, a weathered brick building nestled in the mountains of Colorado. The nuns were kind, the other kids became her brothers and sisters, but none of that filled the void of not knowing. Who was she before Emma Carter? Where had she come from? Why couldn't she remember anything before waking up in that hospital bed? Clutching a stranger's hand, unable to tell them her name, the head nun, Sister Margaret, had explained it gently over the years. Emma had been found alone on a dirt road near the interstate, wearing a blue dress with embroidered daisies. No identification. No family searching for her. The police searched for months. Missing persons reports, news broadcasts, posters in every truck stop from Wyoming to New Mexico. Nothing. It was as if she'd appeared out of thin air. The only clue was a small silver pendant Emma wore around her neck, a delicate chain with a single engraved initial. Sister Margaret had kept it safe for her, along with one photograph, a faded Polaroid of a little girl with brown curly hair and a mischievous smile, wearing that same blue dress with daisies. On the back, written in elegant cursive, Samantha. Age 5, Emma had stared at that photo 1,000 times, trying to remember being that happy little girl. But the memories never came, just flashes. A woman's voice singing a lullaby, the scent of jasmine, strong hands holding hers. Nothing solid, nothing real now. At 24, dancing at her own wedding, Emma wore that pendant hidden beneath her dress. She'd long ago accepted that some questions would never have answers. She'd built a life anyway, graduated college, worked as a graphic designer, fell in love with Javier, a kind-hearted architect who loved her exactly as she was, past and all. "You okay?" Javier murmured against her ear, his accent wrapping around the words like velvet. Emma nodded, forcing her smile brighter. "Just happy, really happy." He kissed her temple, and the song changed to something more upbeat. Guests began flooding the dance floor. Javier's enormous family, Emma's friends from work, a few former St. Catherine's kids who'd become her chosen family. The room buzzed with laughter and celebration. Emma excused herself to catch her breath, making her way toward the French doors that opened onto a terrace. She needed a moment, just one quiet moment to let everything sink in. She was married. She had a future. Her eyes caught on a figure sitting alone at a corner table. An older man, maybe 60, with silver hair carefully combed back and an expensive suit that fit him perfectly. But it wasn't his appearance that stopped Emma cold. It was what he held in his hands. A photograph. He was staring at it with such raw grief that Emma felt it from across the room. His fingers trembled as they traced the edges of the faded picture, and his eyes, even from this distance, Emma could see they were wet with unshed tears. Something pulled at her chest, some instinct she couldn't name. Emma found herself walking toward him, weaving through dancing couples and laughing guests, her heart pounding harder with each step. She didn't know why. She just knew she had to see that photograph. As she got closer, the man looked up. Their eyes met, and for a split second, Emma saw recognition flash across his face. Confusion, hope, disbelief, all tangled together. "Excuse me," Emma said softly, her voice barely audible over the music. The man quickly wiped his eyes, trying to compose himself. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. This is a beautiful wedding. You must be the bride." Emma nodded, but her eyes had already dropped to the photograph in his hands. Her breath caught in her throat. It was her. Not similar. Not maybe. It was her. The same photograph Sister Margaret had kept in that yellow envelope for 19 years. The same little girl in the blue dress with daisies. The same mischievous smile, identical down to the smallest detail. "Where?" Emma's voice cracked. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Where did you get that photo?" The man looked down at the picture, as if he'd forgotten he was holding it. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "This is my daughter. Her name is Samantha. She disappeared 19 years ago." The world tilted sideways. Emma grabbed the back of a nearby chair to steady herself. The music seemed to fade into white noise. The laughter became distant echoes. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heart and this stranger's broken voice saying 19 years ago. "I don't understand," Emma whispered. "I have that same photo. Exactly the same." The man's face went pale. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "What do you mean you have the same photo?" Emma's hand moved instinctively to her chest, pressing against the pendant hidden beneath the lace. "I was found in Colorado when I was 5. No memory, no family, just a photo in this." She pulled out the silver pendant, letting it catch the candlelight. The engraved S glinted between them like a secret finally coming to light. The man's knees seemed to buckle. He reached out, his fingers hovering inches from the pendant but not quite touching, as if afraid it might disappear. "Samantha," he breathed. Her name was Samantha. Emma felt tears burning in her eyes, though she didn't fully understand why. "The nuns at the orphanage said I kept repeating that name when they found me. Samantha. But they thought it was just a word I'd heard somewhere." The man's hand moved to his mouth, covering a sob that broke through anyway. "My God, all this time, all these years, we thought, who are you?" Emma asked, though some part of her already knew. Some deep buried part that remembered strong hands and being lifted high in the air, and laughter that felt like safety. "My name is Edward Prescott," he said, his voice shaking. "And if what you're saying is true, if you're really, I'm your father." "Samantha, I'm your father, and I've been looking for you for 19 years. The ballroom spun. Emma heard someone calling her name. Javier, probably, wondering where she'd gone. But she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what she was hearing. Across the room, partially hidden behind a marble pillar, a woman in a dark red dress watched the scene unfold. Her name was Lorraine Prescott, and her manicured fingers tightened around her champagne glass until her knuckles turned white. This couldn't be happening. It was impossible. The girl was supposed to be gone, dead, forgotten, buried in the past where she belonged. But there she stood, wearing that damned pendant, talking to Edward, threatening to unravel everything Lorraine had worked so carefully to build. Lorraine's reflection stared back at her from the pillar's polished surface, elegant, composed, perfect. But beneath that carefully maintained exterior, panic clawed at her chest. After 19 years, the ghost had come back, and Lorraine would have to make sure it disappeared again. Emma couldn't feel her legs. The ballroom had become a blur of colors and noise, everything spinning except for Edward Prescott's face, lined with age and grief, but somehow achingly familiar. "I need to sit down," she managed to say. Edward immediately pulled out a chair, his movements gentle, almost reverent, as if she might shatter at any moment. Emma sank into it, her wedding dress pooling around her like a cloud. She pressed her palms flat against the cool tablecloth, trying to ground herself in something solid. "Tell me," she whispered. "Tell me everything." Edward sat across from her, still clutching that photograph like a lifeline. He took a shaky breath, and when he spoke, 19 years of pain spilled out. "It was a Saturday in June, my wife, Renata, and I took Samantha on a drive through the mountains. She loved the wildflowers, used to make us stop every few miles so she could pick them." His voice cracked on the memory. "We stopped at a gas station off Interstate 70 just outside Denver. I went inside to pay. Renata went to the restroom when we came back to the car. He couldn't finish. He didn't have to. She was gone," Emma said softly. Edward nodded, dragging his hand across his face. "We tore that place apart, called the police, searched every inch of the highway, the woods, nearby towns. They set up roadblocks, issued Amber Alerts before those were even common. For months, we chased every lead, every supposed sighting, but it was like she'd vanished into thin air. Emma's hand moved unconsciously to her pendant. And you never found anything. Nothing. No witnesses. No evidence. No body. Edward's eyes met hers, red-rimmed and desperate. My wife, Renata, never recovered. She died 3 years later. The doctors said it was her heart, but I knew the truth. She died of a broken heart, of losing our baby and never knowing what happened. The weight of his words settled over Emma, like a heavy blanket. This man had lost everything. His daughter, his wife, 19 years of his life spent searching for a ghost. And now here she was. Maybe that ghost made flesh, but maybe just a cruel coincidence. Mr. Prescott, Edward, please. Edward, Emma corrected gently. I want to believe this. God, you have no idea how much I want to believe I actually came from somewhere, that I had parents who loved me. But how can we be sure? What if it's just a coincidence? What if I'm not? You are. His certainty was absolute. I know you are. The photo, the pendant, the age, the location. It all fits. And your eyes. He leaned forward, studying her face with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable but somehow wasn't. You have your mother's eyes. That exact shade of brown, with the little gold flecks. I'd know them anywhere. Emma felt tears spill down her cheeks. She'd spent her whole life with no anchor, no origin story, nothing to explain the hollow feeling of being incomplete. And now this stranger was offering her everything she'd ever wanted. A history, a family, an identity. We can do a DNA test, Edward said, his voice urgent now. It's easy. Just a cheek swab. We'd know for certain within a week. Please, please let me do this. Let me find out if my daughter really came back to me. Before Emma could answer, a familiar hand landed on her shoulder. Javier stood beside her, his expression caught between concern and confusion. Emma, everyone's looking for you. What's going on? His eyes shifted to Edward, polite but wary. Is everything okay? Emma looked up at her husband, this man she'd married only hours ago, and realized she was about to blow apart their carefully planned life. Javi, this is Edward Prescott, he thinks. He might be my father. Javier's eyebrows shot up. Your father, but I thought... So did I. Emma stood, steadying herself against his arm. He has the same photo I do, the one from the orphanage. His daughter disappeared 19 years ago. Same time I was found. Javier looked between them, processing. He'd always known about Emma's past, or rather her lack of one. They'd talked about it on their third date, and he'd held her hand and told her it didn't matter who she'd been before. He loved who she was now, but this was different. This wasn't theoretical anymore. Okay, Javier said slowly, his hand tightening on Emma's. Okay, this is big. What do you need? Emma loved him even more in that moment. No jealousy, no resistance, just immediate support. Edward wants to do a DNA test. Then we do a DNA test. Javier extended his hand to Edward. I'm Javier Morales, Emma's husband, and if there's even a chance you're her father, then we need to find out. Edward shook his hand, gratitude flooding his features. Thank you. Thank you both. We should probably get back to the reception, Emma said, suddenly aware that they'd been gone for too long. People will be wondering. Of course I shouldn't have intruded on your wedding day. Edward pulled out a business card, pressing it into Emma's hand. But please, call me tomorrow. We can arrange the test. Talk more. Whatever you need, whenever you're ready. Emma looked down at the card. Edward Prescott, CEO, Prescott Luxury Hotels, an address in downtown Denver. Phone numbers, email, proof that he was real, that this was really happening. I'll call, she promised. As Edward walked away, Emma watched him go. This ghost of a father who might actually be real. She felt Javier's arm around her waist, anchoring her. You okay? He asked softly. I don't know. Ask me when I figure out who I am. They returned to the reception, Emma pasting on a smile and accepting congratulations, but her mind was elsewhere. Across the room, she caught glimpses of Edward speaking quietly with other guests. And near the bar, she noticed a striking woman in a dark red dress watching them both with an expression Emma couldn't quite read. The woman was elegant, probably in her late 50s, with perfectly styled blonde hair and jewelry that probably cost more than Emma's entire wedding. When their eyes met, the woman raised her champagne glass in a small toast, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Something about that smile made Emma shiver. "Who is that?" she asked Javier, nodding toward the woman. "I don't know. Maybe one of your design clients." But Emma knew all her clients. And this woman was a stranger, a beautiful, cold stranger, who seemed far too interested in her conversation with Edward. The woman turned away, disappearing into the crowd, and Emma tried to shake off the uneasy feeling creeping up her spine. She was being paranoid. It had been an overwhelming day, and her brain was scrambling to make sense of impossible revelations. Still, as she and Javier cut the cake and made their toasts and danced their first dance as husband and wife, Emma couldn't stop thinking about two things: the photograph that connected her to a man who claimed to be her father, and the cold smile of a stranger in a red dress who watched them like a predator watching prey. Later, as the reception wound down and guests began to leave, Emma found herself standing by the French doors, staring out at the Denver skyline. Javier was saying goodbye to his cousins, and for a moment, she was alone with her thoughts. Quite an eventful day. Emma turned to find the woman in red standing beside her, champagne glass still in hand. "I'm sorry. Have we met?" Emma asked politely. The woman's smile widened, but it still didn't reach her eyes. "Not formally. I'm Lorraine Prescott, Edward's sister." Emma's heart skipped. "You're his sister. For better or worse." Lorraine took a delicate sip of champagne. "I couldn't help but notice your conversation with my brother earlier. Quite the dramatic revelation at a wedding reception." There was something in her tone, not quite hostile, but not friendly either. Something that made Emma's defenses rise. "It was unexpected," Emma said carefully. "I'm sure it was." Lorraine's gaze drifted to Emma's necklace, visible now above the dress's neckline. "That's a lovely pendant. Family heirloom." Emma's hand moved protectively to cover it. "Something like that." Lorraine set down her empty glass. "A word of advice, dear. My brother is a good man, but he's also a desperate man. He's been chasing ghosts for almost 20 years. He sees his daughter in every young woman with brown hair and a sad story." "This isn't just a sad story," Emma said, her voice hardening. "We have the same photograph. Photographs can be duplicated, copied, bought." Lorraine's smile turned sympathetic, but her eyes remained ice cold. "I'm not saying you're intentionally deceiving him. Maybe you genuinely believe you could be Samantha. But darling, you need to understand. The Prescott fortune is substantial, and desperate, grieving billionaires make very attractive targets for con artists." Emma felt as if she'd been slapped. "I'm not a con artist." "Of course not, but others might not see it that way." Lorraine patted Emma's arm, the gesture somehow more threatening than comforting. "Just be careful. Fairy tales rarely have happy endings in the real world." She walked away, leaving Emma standing alone, her wedding day joy now thoroughly poisoned. Emma couldn't sleep. She lay in the honeymoon suite of the downtown hotel, staring at the ceiling while Javier's breathing settled into the steady rhythm of sleep beside her. The silk sheets felt too soft, the room too quiet, her mind too loud. Photographs can be duplicated, copied, bought. Lorraine's words circled in her head like vultures. Was she being naive? Was Edward just a grieving old man seeing what he wanted to see? Was she really so desperate for family that she'd convinced herself of an impossible coincidence? Emma turned on her side, watching the city lights paint shadows across the wall. Tomorrow they were supposed to leave for their honeymoon in Mexico. 2 weeks of beaches and margaritas and forgetting the rest of the world existed. But how could she get on that plane now? How could she leave when the answer to her entire existence might be waiting in a DNA test? "Can't sleep." Javier's voice was rough with drowsiness. "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you." He rolled toward her, his hand finding hers in the darkness. "Talk to me." Emma was quiet for a moment, organizing the chaos in her head. What if Lorraine's right? What if I'm just some orphan who happens to look like his daughter, and I'm giving him false hope? Then the DNA test will show that, and you'll both have closure. Javier squeezed her hand. But what if she's wrong? What if you really are his daughter? Then everything changes. Would that be so bad? Emma thought about it. Having a father, a history, A name that actually meant something. It should feel like a gift, like winning the lottery. So why did it terrify her? "I don't know how to be someone's daughter," she whispered. "I've been alone for so long." Javier pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her. "You're not alone. You have me. And maybe, just maybe, you have him too." Emma buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. Coffee and cologne and safety. "I love you. I love you too, even if you turn out to be a secret heiress." She could hear the smile in his voice. God, I hadn't even thought about that part. Emma pulled back to look at him. Lorraine mentioned the Prescott fortune. What if that's all anyone sees? What if they think I'm just after money? Anyone who knows you knows that's bullshit. Javier tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. But Emma, if this is real, if he is your father, you're going to have to deal with people who don't know you. People who'll judge, who'll assume the worst. Are you ready for that? Emma didn't have an answer. She finally drifted off around 3 a.m, and when she did, the dreams came. She was small again, tiny hands gripping a red balloon. The sun was bright, too bright, hurting her eyes. Mama's voice singing somewhere close, something in Spanish she couldn't quite make out. Then different hands, rough hands, grabbing her, the balloon floating away into the sky. A man's voice, gruff and scared. "Hurry up, before someone sees." Another voice. "I don't like this, man. She's just a kid." The smell of cigarettes and old car seats. Crying, crying, crying. And then a woman's voice, cold as winter. "Leave her far away. Somewhere no one will find her. Make her disappear." Emma woke up gasping, her heart hammering against her ribs. The room was gray with early morning light. Javier was still asleep beside her, peaceful and unaware of the nightmare that had just clawed its way out of her subconscious. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand with shaking hands. 6:47 a.m., too early to call anyone. But she pulled up Edward's contact information anyway, staring at the number he'd given her. The dream felt different from normal nightmares. It felt like a memory trying to surface, like something real buried under years of forgetting. Make her disappear. By 9 o'clock, Emma had showered, dressed, and convinced Javier to postpone their flight to Mexico. He'd made the call to the resort while she paced the hotel room, her phone clutched in her hand like a talisman. "Ready?" Javier asked gently. Emma nodded and dialed Edward's number. He answered on the second ring. "Emma? Hi. I hope it's not too early." "Not at all. I've been up since 5. He sounded breathless, hopeful. "Have you thought about the test? I want to do it today, if possible. I need to know." "Thank you." His voice broke on the words. "Thank you. I'll arrange everything. There's a private clinic I use. Very discreet. Can you meet me there at 11? Emma agreed, took down the address, and hung up, feeling like she'd just jumped off a cliff with no idea if there was water below. The clinic was in a sleek glass building in downtown Denver. All modern furniture and abstract art and the kind of hushed professionalism that screamed expensive. Edward was already in the waiting room when they arrived, dressed in a dark suit, but looking like he hadn't slept at all. "Emma." He stood immediately, then seemed uncertain whether to hug her or shake her hand. They settled on an awkward half-embrace. "And Javier, thank you both for coming." "Of course," Emma said, her voice steadier than she felt. A nurse called them back almost immediately. The test itself was anticlimactic. Just a cotton swab rubbed against the inside of her cheek, then the same for Edward. 5 minutes, and it was done. "Results will be ready in 3 to 5 business days," the nurse explained, sealing the samples in labeled bags. "We'll call as soon as they're processed. 3 to 5 days, an eternity." They stood in the clinic's lobby afterward, an awkward triangle of people who didn't quite know what to say to each other. "Would you like to get coffee?" Edward asked. "Or lunch? I'd love to talk more, learn about your life, if that's not too forward." Emma glanced at Javier, who nodded encouragingly. "Coffee sounds good." They ended up at a quiet cafe 2 blocks away. Edward ordered black coffee and didn't touch it. Emma got a latte she didn't drink. Javier was the only one who actually consumed his cappuccino, providing a buffer of normalcy in an increasingly surreal situation. "Tell me about the orphanage," Edward said. "What was it like growing up there?" Emma wrapped her hands around her cup. letting the warmth seep into her palms. Lonely, mostly. The nuns were kind, but there were so many kids, and I was the weird one who couldn't remember anything before age 5. The other kids either pitied me or thought I was making it up. Did you ever try to find your family? The nuns tried. They contacted every missing children's database, ran my photo in newspapers, even hired a private investigator once with donated funds. Nothing ever came back. It was like I didn't exist before that road in Colorado. Edward's jaw tightened. Someone didn't want you to be found. The words hung in the air, heavy and cold. Emma thought about her dream, that woman's voice ordering her disappearance. Edward, Emma said slowly, when Samantha disappeared, did the police have any suspects? Anyone who might have wanted to hurt her? Edward looked uncomfortable. They investigated everyone. Staff at the gas station, registered offenders in the area, even people we knew. But there was never any evidence pointing to anyone specific. The case went cold within 6 months. What about family? Did anyone have a reason to? Emma trailed off, not wanting to voice the terrible thought. But Edward understood. His expression darkened. You mean, did someone in my family hurt my daughter? The police looked at me first. Naturally, then my wife, our finances, our marriage. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. We loved Samantha more than anything in the world. I didn't mean to suggest. I know, Edward softened. And you're right to ask. If someone took you deliberately, not randomly, then there had to be a motive. I've spent 19 years asking myself that same question. Javier had been quiet, but now he leaned forward. What about the pendant? The one Emma wears? Was that Samantha's? Edward's eyes moved to Emma's necklace, visible above her sweater. Yes. My wife gave it to her on her 5th birthday, 3 weeks before she disappeared. The S was for Samantha. Renata had it custom made. Emma touched the pendant. This piece of jewelry she'd carried her whole life without understanding its significance. It had been hers once. She'd been Samantha once, a little girl with parents who loved her, who gave her custom jewelry and took her on drives through the mountains. And someone had stolen that from her. I'm going to find out what happened, Emma said, surprised by the steel in her own voice. If I'm your daughter, when we prove I'm your daughter, I want to know who did this, who took me, who took 19 years from both of us. Edward reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers but not quite touching. We'll find out together. They talked for another hour, about Emma's life, her work, how she'd met Javier. Edward told stories about Samantha, the little girl who collected wildflowers and refused to eat vegetables and insisted on wearing her butterfly wings everywhere, even to the grocery store. Emma tried to recognize herself in those stories but couldn't. That little girl felt like a stranger. When they finally parted ways, promising to wait together for the test results, Emma felt emotionally wrung out. Javier drove them back to the hotel in silence, his hand resting on her knee. That woman yesterday, Emma said suddenly. Lorraine, Edward's sister. She basically accused me of being a con artist. She's probably protective of him. He's been through a lot. Maybe. But Emma couldn't shake the memory of those cold eyes, that threatening smile. Or maybe she knows something we don't. That night, Emma dreamed again. The same rough hands, the same scared voices, the same woman commanding her disappearance. But this time, when she woke up gasping at 2 a.m., she could swear the woman's voice in her dream had sounded like Lorraine. 4 days felt like 4 years. Emma had tried to distract herself, unpacking wedding gifts, organizing their apartment, catching up on work emails. Nothing worked. Her mind kept circling back to that clinic, those cotton swabs, the answers locked away in some laboratory waiting to reshape her entire existence. Javier had been patient, supportive, never pushing her to talk when she went quiet. But she could see the worry in his eyes every time she startled awake from another nightmare, every time she stared at her phone waiting for it to ring on the 4th day. It finally did. Emma was folding laundry when her phone buzzed. Unknown number, Denver area code. Her hands started shaking so badly she almost dropped it. Hello, Mrs. Carter. This is Dr. Richardson from Denver Genetics Lab. I have your results ready. Are you able to come in this afternoon to discuss them? Emma's heart stopped. Can't you just tell me over the phone? A pause. We prefer to deliver these results in person, especially given the sensitive nature. Please, Emma's voice cracked. Please, I need to know now. Is Edward Prescott my father? Another pause. Longer this time then. The test shows a 99,098% probability of paternity. Yes, Miss Carter. Edward Prescott is your biological father. The room tilted. Emma sat down hard on the couch, the folded towels spilling onto the floor. You're sure? Completely sure. The markers are definitive. Would you like to schedule a time to come in and review the full report? Emma agreed to something. She wasn't sure what, and hung up. She sat there staring at nothing, her phone still clutched in her hand. She had a father. After 24 years of being no one, belonging nowhere, she had a father, a real, living, breathing father who'd been looking for her, who'd never stopped looking. Emma, Javier appeared in the doorway, concern creasing his forehead. Who was that? She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. It's true. He's my father. I'm Samantha Prescott. Javier crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms. She sobbed against his chest. Not sad tears, not happy tears. Something more complicated than either. Relief and grief and joy and loss all tangled together. I have a name, she whispered. I finally have a real name. You've always had a real name, Javier said gently. But now you have the whole story. Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. I need to call him Edward. He needs to know. But before she could dial, her phone rang again. Edward's name flashed on the screen. Emma. His voice was raw, shaking. The clinic just called. They told me, they said, I know. They called me too. A sound came through the phone that might have been a laugh or a sob. You're my daughter. You're really my daughter. Oh God, Samantha, you came back. Hearing him say that name, her real name, broke something open in Emma's chest. I don't know how to be Samantha, she admitted. I've been Emma for so long. Then be Emma, Edward said immediately. Be whoever you want to be. I just want you in my life. However that looks. Whatever you're comfortable with. They made plans to meet that evening. Edward suggested his home, then immediately backtracked, worried it would be too much, too soon. They settled on the same cafe where they'd had coffee after the test. Emma spent the rest of the afternoon in a daze. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying her reflection as if seeing it for the first time. Brown eyes with gold flecks. Her mother's eyes, Edward had said. The curve of her jaw, the shape of her nose. Features that had always been just hers were suddenly someone else's too. She was a Prescott. She came from somewhere. When they arrived at the cafe that evening, Edward was already there, the moment he saw Emma. He stood, and she could see he'd been crying. His eyes were red, his face blotchy, but he was smiling wider than seemed physically possible. Hi, Emma said, suddenly shy. Hi, sweetheart. Edward's voice broke on the endearment. Would it be okay if I hugged you? Emma nodded, and then she was in his arms. He smelled like expensive cologne and coffee and something else she couldn't name. Something that felt impossibly, inexplicably like home. He held her carefully, like she might break, one hand cradling the back of her head. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you, that I let you disappear, that you grew up without us. It wasn't your fault, Emma said, though she didn't know if that was true. They sat, and Edward pulled out an envelope. The official test results. He pushed it across the table to her. Emma opened it with trembling hands, scanning the technical jargon until she found the conclusion printed in bold, probability of paternity, 99.98%. There it was, scientific proof that she belonged to someone. I have so many questions, Emma said, about my mother, about what I was like as a kid, about everything. I'll tell you everything, Edward promised. Every story, every photo, every memory. You can have it all back. They talked for hours. Edward showed her pictures on his phone. Renata, beautiful and smiling, holding a baby Samantha. Samantha at 3, covered in birthday cake. Samantha at 4, wearing those butterfly wings she'd apparently been obsessed with. Emma stared at these images of herself, trying to remember being that happy, carefree child. Your mother would have loved knowing you grew up to be an artist, Edward said. zooming in on a photo of toddler Samantha with finger paint everywhere. She was a painter, not professionally, just for fun, but she was talented. I didn't know that. Emma felt a pang of loss for this woman she'd never get to meet. I wish I could have known her. She would have fought heaven and hell to get you back, Edward said, his voice thick with emotion. Losing you destroyed her. If she knew you were alive all this time. He broke off, unable to continue. Javier, who'd been quietly supportive, spoke up. What happens now, logistically? Does Emma need to change her legal name? Are there inheritance issues? Edward waved that away. Whatever Emma wants. If she wants to stay Emma Carter Morales, that's fine. If she wants to reclaim Prescott, we can arrange that. As for inheritance, he looked directly at Emma. I'm not a young man. Everything I have was supposed to be yours anyway. It still is if you want it. I don't want your money, Emma said immediately. I know you don't. That's how I know you're really my daughter. Edward smiled sadly. But it's yours regardless. The hotels, the investments, all of it. You're my only child, Samantha. Everything I built was for you. The weight of that settled over Emma. She wasn't just getting a father. She was inheriting an empire, a legacy, a life she'd never prepared for. This is a lot, she admitted. We'll take it slow, Edward assured her. As slow as you need. I've waited 19 years. I can wait as long as it takes for you to feel comfortable. They parted ways with promises to have dinner the next night, this time at Edward's home. He wanted to show Emma her old room, preserved exactly as it had been the day she disappeared. As Emma and Javier walked back to their car, Emma felt lighter than she had in days. The uncertainty was gone. She knew who she was now, where she came from. She had a father who loved her, who'd never stopped looking. But as they drove away, Emma didn't notice the sleek black Mercedes parked across the street, didn't see Lorraine Prescott sitting in the driver's seat, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Lorraine had watched the entire reunion through the cafe window, watched Edward crying tears of joy, watched Emma looking at those damned photos, watched them embracing like a fucking Hallmark movie. This couldn't be happening. After 19 years. After everything she'd done to erase that little brat from existence, she was back. And worse, she had proof. Scientific, irrefutable proof. Lorraine pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed a number she'd hoped never to use again. It's me, she said, when a gruff voice answered. We have a problem. The girl survived. She's back. And she's taking everything. A long pause, then, what do you want me to do about it? Lorraine watched Emma and Javier drive away, her jaw clenched. I'll let you know. Just be ready. She ended the call and sat in the darkness of her car, her mind racing. She'd orchestrated one disappearance. She could orchestrate another. This time, she'd make sure Samantha Prescott stayed gone for good. The Prescott mansion sat on 3 acres in Cherry Hills Village, the kind of neighborhood where the houses had names instead of numbers, and the mailboxes cost more than most people's cars. Emma felt her stomach twist as Javier pulled through the iron gates, following the curved driveway lined with perfectly manicured hedges. You okay? Javier asked, squeezing her hand. I grew up here, Emma whispered, staring at the sprawling Tudor-style home. I learned to walk on that lawn. I had birthday parties in that garden, and I don't remember any of it. Edward was waiting at the front door, practically vibrating with nervous energy. He'd dressed casually, khakis and a sweater, but Emma could tell he'd agonized over every detail, wanting everything to be perfect. Welcome home, he said, his voice catching on the last word. Home. The word felt foreign and familiar all at once. Inside, the mansion was exactly what Emma expected. High ceilings, expensive art, furniture that probably cost more than she made in a year. But there were also softer touches. Family photos covering every surface, fresh flowers in crystal vases, a worn leather chair by the fireplace that had clearly been someone's favorite spot. Your mother's chair, Edward explained, following her gaze. I couldn't get rid of it. Sometimes I still sit there and pretend she's just in the other room. Emma's throat tightened. She picked up a framed photo from the mantel. A young woman with dark hair and those same brown eyes Emma saw in the mirror, holding a tiny baby wrapped in a pink blanket. "That was the day we brought you home from the hospital," Edward said softly. Renata said she'd never been so terrified and so happy at the same time. They toured the house, Edward narrating memories at every turn. The kitchen where Samantha had helped make cookies and somehow gotten flour in her hair. The living room where she'd built pillow forts. The library where Renata had read to her every night. Then Edward led them upstairs, stopping in front of a white door decorated with hand-painted butterflies. "I haven't changed anything," he warned. "If it's too much, I want to see it," Emma said. Edward opened the door, and Emma stepped into a time capsule. The room was frozen in 2005. Posters of Disney princesses on the walls, a bed covered in stuffed animals, a toy box overflowing with dolls and blocks, a child's room, preserved like a shrine. Emma walked slowly around the space, touching things carefully as if they might crumble. A jewelry box that played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, a bookshelf full of picture books, a closet still full of tiny dresses, including a blue one with embroidered daisies. The dress, Emma breathed, from the photo. She wore it constantly that summer, Edward said from the doorway. We had to sneak it into the laundry at night because she'd throw a fit if she couldn't wear it. Emma pulled the dress from the hanger, holding it against her chest. It was so small, made for a child who no longer existed. She'd never be that little girl again. Those 19 years were gone forever. "I'm sorry," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'm sorry I can't remember this. Any of this? I feel like I'm disappointing you." Edward crossed the room and gently took the dress from her hands. "You're not disappointing me. You're alive. You're here. That's more than I ever dreamed possible." He cupped her face in his hands. "Memory or no memory, you're still my daughter. That's all that matters." They stayed for dinner, takeout Chinese that Edward insisted Samantha had loved as a child. Emma tried the sweet and sour chicken and discovered he was right. It tasted like home, even if she couldn't remember why. It was nearly 10 when Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Coffee tomorrow, 9 a.m. Margot's Cafe downtown. Lorraine." Emma showed it to Edward, whose expression darkened. "You don't have to meet with her." "Why doesn't she like me?" Emma asked. "I mean, I'm your daughter. Shouldn't she be happy you found me?" Edward and Javier exchanged a look that Emma couldn't quite read. "Lorraine and I have a complicated relationship," Edward said carefully. "When Samantha disappeared, it destroyed our family. I pulled away from everyone, including her. She felt abandoned. There's resentment there." "Is that all?" Emma pressed. Edward hesitated. "She's also a major shareholder in Prescott Hotels. When I thought Samantha was dead, I made Lorraine my heir." "Now that you're back," he trailed off, but Emma understood. "She's going to lose everything." "It was never hers to begin with," Edward said firmly. "The company was built for Samantha, for you. Lorraine knew that." Emma looked back at the text. "I should meet with her. Clear the air. Maybe she just needs to hear that I'm not trying to take anything from her." But even as she said it, Emma remembered Lorraine's cold smile at the wedding, her thinly veiled accusations. Something told her this meeting wouldn't be about clearing the air. The next morning, Emma arrived at Margot's Cafe 10 minutes early. Lorraine was already there, sitting at a corner table, immaculate in a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Emma's car. "Emma, thank you for coming." Lorraine's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Please sit." Emma sat, her defenses already up. "What did you want to talk about?" "Straight to the point. I can respect that." Lorraine took a delicate sip of her espresso. "I owe you an apology. My behavior at your wedding was inappropriate. I was caught off guard, protective of my brother, you understand?" "Sure," Emma said, not buying it for a second. "The DNA results must have been quite a relief, knowing for certain who you are." Lorraine's eyes were sharp, calculating. "Though I have to admit, I'm still processing the implications. You disappeared 19 years ago under mysterious circumstances, and suddenly reappear at Edward's lowest point, right when he's most vulnerable." "I didn't plan to reappear," Emma said, her voice hardening. "I had no idea who he was until he showed up at my wedding." "Of course, pure coincidence." Lorraine leaned forward. "But you have to see how it looks. Edward is worth billions. The Prescott estate includes hotels in 12 countries, real estate holdings, investments, and now it all goes to you, a complete stranger who happened to show up with a convenient sob story. The DNA doesn't lie. DNA can be manipulated. Tests can be falsified. Money can buy a lot of things, Emma, including laboratory results. Emma felt her face flush with anger. You think I faked a DNA test? That's insane. Is it? Lorraine pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. I've already started asking questions. Apparently, the lab Edward used is owned by a friend of his. Very cozy arrangement. And the technician who processed your samples. He has gambling debts. Significant gambling debts. You're lying. Am I? Lorraine showed Emma her phone. A photo of a bank statement with several large deposits highlighted. These went into your account last week, right before the DNA results came back. Care to explain where a graphic designer gets $50,000 in cash deposits? Emma stared at the statement, her blood running cold. Those weren't her accounts. She'd never seen those numbers before, but they had her name on them, her social security number. Those aren't mine, Emma said. You faked these. Did I? Or are you running a very sophisticated con and I'm the only one smart enough to see it? Lorraine tucked her phone away. I've already sent copies to several board members at Prescott hotels. They're very concerned about Edward's judgment. Some are even talking about having him declared mentally incompetent. You can't do that. I can do whatever it takes to protect my family's legacy from opportunistic frauds. Lorraine's mask of civility finally cracked, revealing the venom beneath. You want to know the truth, Emma. I don't care if you are Samantha. That little girl is dead. She died 19 years ago and she's not coming back. You're just some orphan who got lucky, who found a rich old man desperate enough to believe in fairy tales. Emma stood, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. I'm not an orphan anymore. I'm Edward's daughter. The DNA proves it, and there's nothing you can do to change that. We'll see about that. Lorraine's smile was pure ice. You might have fooled Edward, but you won't fool everyone. By the time I'm done, the entire city will know you're a con artist. Your husband will leave you. Your friends will abandon you, and Edward will realize what a mistake he made trusting you. Why are you doing this? Emma demanded. What did I ever do to you? For just a moment, something flickered in Lorraine's eyes. Fear, maybe, or guilt. But it was gone so fast Emma might have imagined it. Stay away from my brother, Lorraine said quietly. Walk away now, while you still can. Take whatever money you've already gotten and disappear, because if you don't, I will destroy you. Emma left the cafe shaking with rage and fear. She sat in her car for 10 minutes, trying to calm down enough to drive. Her phone rang. Edward. Emma. I just got a call from Marcus Brennan on the board. He's asking questions about the DNA test, about your finances. What's going on? Lorraine, Emma said. She's trying to discredit me. She showed me fake bank statements. Said I bribed the lab technician. Edward, she's going to turn everyone against me. A long silence. Then Edward's voice, harder than she'd ever heard it. Let her try. I'll call an emergency board meeting. We'll address this head on. I won't let her poison people against you. But as Emma drove home, she couldn't shake the feeling that Lorraine was just getting started. This wasn't about money or inheritance or company politics. This was personal, and Lorraine Prescott was playing for keeps. The nightmares were getting worse. Emma woke up screaming for the third night in a row, tangled in sweat-soaked sheets, Javier's arms already around her, before she'd fully surfaced from the dream. Same one, he asked gently, brushing damp hair from her forehead. Emma nodded, her heart still racing, but it wasn't the same anymore. The dream was changing, getting clearer, more detailed, like a photograph slowly developing in a dark room, revealing shapes that had always been there but hidden in shadow. Tell me, Javier urged. Emma closed her eyes, trying to hold onto the fragments before they slipped away. I'm in a car, back seat. There are two men in front. I can't see their faces, but I can hear them arguing. One says, "This is wrong, man. She's just a kid." The other one says, "You want that money or not? We do what we're told." She paused, her breath hitching. Then there's another voice, a woman's voice on a phone, I think. She's saying, I don't care how you do it. Just make sure she's never found. Make her disappear. And Javi? Emma opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I think I know whose voice it is. Whose? Lorraine's? Javier went very still. Javier. Emma, are you sure memory can be tricky, especially under stress? Your brain might be filling in gaps with what you want to believe. I know how it sounds. But every time I have this dream, her voice gets clearer. And there's something else. The men. They keep calling the woman Miss P. Prescott. It has to be her. If that's true, Javier said slowly, if Lorraine really was involved in your kidnapping, then she's not just trying to protect the family fortune. She's covering up a crime. Emma sat up, suddenly wide awake despite the 3 a.m. darkness. That's why she's so desperate to discredit me. If I'm really Samantha, if people start investigating what happened 19 years ago, she'll be exposed. We need to tell Edward. And say what? That I have dreams I think might be memories. That I'm accusing his sister of kidnapping me based on a voice I'm not even sure I'm remembering correctly. Emma shook her head. He'll think I'm unstable. That Lorraine was right about me all along. Then we need proof, Javier said. Real evidence. Not just dreams. The next morning, Emma called Edward. His voice was strained when he answered. Apparently, Lorraine's campaign against her was gaining traction. 3 board members had already demanded an independent DNA test. The Denver Post was sniffing around, asking questions about the mysterious long-lost heiress. I'm handling it, Edward assured her, but Emma could hear the exhaustion in his voice. Don't let Lorraine's poison get to you. Edward, I need to ask you something about the day I disappeared. Do you remember if Lorraine was with you? A pause. Lorraine? No. She was in New York. She called that night, devastated when we told her what happened. Why? Because she might have been the one who made it happen. Emma thought but didn't say. Just trying to piece together the timeline. Did she come back for the search? Eventually, she stayed a few weeks, then went back to New York. We weren't as close then. She was building her own career. Didn't want to be tied to the family business. Edward's voice softened. I know she's been horrible to you, sweetheart, but she's not a monster. She's just scared of losing what little family she has left. Emma wished she could believe that. After they hung up, Emma made a decision. If her dreams were actually memories trying to surface, she needed help bringing them fully into focus. She needed to talk to someone who understood trauma, memory, how the brain protects itself from unbearable truths. Dr. Sarah Chen's office was nothing like Emma expected. Instead of the cold clinical feel she'd imagined, it was warm and inviting. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, and a wall of books that made the space feel more like someone's study than a therapist's office. Dr. Chen herself was in her 40s, with kind eyes and an easy smile that immediately put Emma at ease. Tell me what brings you here, she said once they'd settled in. Emma explained everything. Finding Edward, the DNA test, the nightmares that felt like memories. She talked about the voices, the car, the woman on the phone ordering her disappearance. Dr. Chen listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. What you're describing is consistent with recovered memory, Dr. Chen said when Emma finished. Traumatic events, especially in childhood, can be suppressed by the brain as a protective mechanism. Sometimes they stay buried forever. Sometimes they resurface, particularly when triggered by related stress or discovery. So these dreams, they could be real memories. They could be. But Emma, I have to be honest with you. Memory is complicated. Our brains don't record events like a video camera. We reconstruct memories every time we recall them. And those reconstructions can be influenced by our current emotions, our expectations, what we've been told by others. Dr. Chen leaned forward. I'm not saying your memories aren't real. I'm saying we need to be careful about treating them as absolute truth without corroboration. How do I know for sure? We can try regression therapy, guided meditation that helps you access buried memories in a controlled, safe environment. But Emma, you need to understand that this process can be painful. If these memories are real, you're going to have to relive your kidnapping. Are you prepared for that? Emma thought about Lorraine's threats, Edward's hope, the 19 years of her life that were just blank space. I need to know the truth, whatever it costs. They scheduled sessions for the following week. As Emma was leaving, Dr. Chen stopped her at the door. One more thing. If your suspicions about Lorraine are correct, if she really was involved in your kidnapping, she's not going to stop at character assassination. People who commit crimes that serious don't just give up when threatened with exposure. Be careful. Emma drove home with those words echoing in her head. Be careful. But how did you protect yourself from someone who'd already proven they were willing to destroy a child to get what they wanted? When she got home, Javier was waiting with his laptop open. I've been digging into Lorraine's finances from 2005. It's all public record because she was on the company board, Emma. Look at this. He turned the screen toward her. It showed a financial statement from June 2005. The month Emma disappeared. Highlighted in yellow was a withdrawal, $150,000 cash. That's a lot of money to take out in cash, Javier said. And look at the date. Emma's blood ran cold. The withdrawal was dated June 18, 2005, 3 days before Samantha Prescott vanished from that gas station. It could be a coincidence, Emma whispered, even as she knew it wasn't. There's more. Javier clicked to another page. 2 weeks after you disappeared, Lorraine made a $200,000 donation to a children's charity. The press release says it was in honor of her missing niece. But Emma, that's suspicious timing. What if she was laundering the money, trying to create a paper trail that made her look sympathetic? Emma stared at the documents, her mind racing. This was evidence. Not proof. Maybe. But enough to raise serious questions. Combined with her recovered memories, it painted a damning picture. We need to show this to Edward, she said. Are you sure? This is going to destroy him. Finding out his own sister. I know, but he deserves to know the truth. And if Lorraine really did this, if she stole 19 years from both of us, she needs to pay for it. That night, Emma lay awake long after Javier had fallen asleep. Tomorrow, she'd show Edward the financial records. Next week, she'd start the regression therapy. Soon, the truth would come out, whatever that truth was. But as she stared at the ceiling, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was running out of time. Lorraine was getting more desperate, more aggressive, and desperate people did dangerous things. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You should have taken my advice and disappeared. Now you've left me no choice. Emma's hands shook as she read it. No signature, but she didn't need one. She knew exactly who'd sent it. The war in the shadows was about to break into the light. Emma stood outside Edward's study. Javier's laptop clutched in her hands like a weapon. Through the heavy oak door, she could hear Edward on the phone, his voice tired but patient as he dealt with yet another board member demanding explanations. This was going to break him. She'd spent the entire drive to the mansion rehearsing what she'd say, how she'd present the evidence gently, carefully, but there was no gentle way to tell a man his sister had orchestrated his daughter's kidnapping. The door opened. Edward stood there in reading glasses and a cardigan, looking older than his 60 years. Emma, sweetheart, I didn't know you were coming. Is everything... He stopped, reading her expression. What's wrong? We need to talk, in private. Edward's face paled, but he stepped aside to let her and Javier in. The study was exactly what Emma expected. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk covered in papers, framed photos of Samantha everywhere, a shrine to a ghost who'd just come back to life. Whatever Lorraine's done now, we'll handle it, Edward said, settling into his chair. I've already contacted our lawyers about the false bank statements. It's not about the bank statements. Emma set the laptop on his desk. The financial record's already pulled up. Edward, I need you to look at something, and I need you to keep an open mind. He frowned but leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. As his eyes scanned the screen, Emma watched his expression shift from confusion to disbelief. These are Lorraine's financial records from 2005, she explained quietly. 3 days before I disappeared, she withdrew $150,000 in cash. 2 weeks after, she made a suspicious donation to a children's charity. Edward shook his head slowly. Emma, I don't understand what you're suggesting. I think she paid someone to kidnap me. The words hung in the air like poison. Edward sat back as if he'd been physically struck. That's impossible. No. Lorraine would never... I've been having dreams, Emma continued, her voice shaking. Memories I think of being in a car with 2 men, hearing a woman's voice on the phone telling them to make me disappear. Edward, I think that voice was Lorraine's. Dreams aren't evidence, Edward said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was staring at the financial records, his mind clearly working through implications he didn't want to accept. No, but combined with this, Javier gestured to the screen. It's enough to warrant investigation. That's a lot of money to withdraw in cash with no explanation. Right before your daughter vanished, Edward stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Outside, the manicured gardens stretched toward the mountains, peaceful and perfect. A facade, just like everything else. There has to be another explanation, he said. But Emma could hear the doubt creeping into his voice. Maybe she was investing in something, maybe... Edward, please. I know this is hard. I know she's your sister, but you need to consider the possibility that she's not who you think she is. Why? Edward spun around, his face anguished. Why would she do this? What possible reason could she have to hurt Samantha? Emma and Javier exchanged a look. Money, Javier said gently. If Samantha disappeared, who inherited everything? The color drained from Edward's face. He sank back into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 60 years. Oh God, the will. I changed my will 2 weeks before Samantha disappeared. Made her the sole heir, with Lorraine as secondary. Lorraine knew she was furious, said I was cutting her out of the family legacy. What did you tell her? That the company was always meant to go to my children. That she had her own career, her own money. She'd still have shares, still be involved, but the majority would go to Samantha. Edward's hands trembled. We had a huge fight about it. She said I was choosing a child over my own sister, that I'd regret it. Emma felt sick. The pieces were falling into place too perfectly. Did she threaten you? Not directly, just said that sometimes families had to make hard choices, that loyalty should be rewarded. Edward looked up at Emma, tears streaming down his face. I thought she was just upset. I never imagined. How could I imagine my own sister would... He couldn't finish. The reality was too monstrous. We need proof, Emma said. Real, concrete proof. The financial records are suspicious but not definitive. We need to find the men she hired. Get them to testify. I have a private investigator, Edward said, his voice hollow. Marcus Rivera. He's been with me for years. Helped search for Samantha originally. If anyone can find them, he can. He picked up his phone with shaking hands and made the call. Emma listened as Edward explained what they needed. Find 2 men hired in June 2005 to kidnap a 5-year-old girl. Find evidence linking them to Lorraine Prescott. Find the truth, whatever it cost. When he hung up, Edward looked at Emma with an expression that broke her heart. What if you're right? What if my sister destroyed our family? How do I live with that? Emma crossed to him, kneeling beside his chair. The same way I've lived with 19 years of not knowing who I was, one day at a time. But Edward, if she really did this, she can't get away with it. For Samantha, for Mom, for all the years we lost. Edward pulled her into his arms, and they held each other while he cried. Deep, wrenching sobs for the sister he'd loved, and the monster she might actually be. 3 days later, Marcus Rivera called with news. Emma and Javier rushed to the mansion to hear it in person. Marcus was a thick-built man in his 50s, with the weathered look of someone who'd spent decades digging up things people wanted to stay buried. I found them, he said without preamble, spreading files across Edward's desk. Ray Kowalski and Tommy Chen, small-time criminals in 2005, breaking and entering, some drug charges, nothing violent until June that year. He pulled out mugshots of 2 men. Emma stared at their faces, trying to remember if they matched the shadows in her dreams. Maybe, she wasn't sure. Kowalski disappeared off the grid for about 5 years after June 2005. Marcus continued. Came back with money, started a legitimate business. Chen went straight too, moved to Nevada. Both of them kept their noses clean after that, like they'd been scared straight. Can we talk to them? Edward asked. Better than that. I already did. Marcus pulled out a recording device. With their permission, of course. And what they told me, well, you need to hear it. He pressed play. A man's voice, gruff and nervous, filled the room. Look, I'm not proud of what we did. We were desperate, broke, stupid. This woman contacted us through a guy we knew, Said she'd pay big money for a simple job. Snatch a kid from a gas station, drive her out of state, leave her somewhere she'd be found, but not right away. No violence, no harm, just relocation. Another voice. She said the kid would be better off, that she was being taken from an abusive situation. We believed her, or we wanted to believe her. The money was too good. The first voice again. We took the girl, drove her to Colorado like we were told, but man, she was crying, calling for her daddy. It messed us up. We couldn't just leave her in the middle of nowhere like the lady wanted, so we left her by the road where someone would find her quick. Called it in anonymously to make sure. The woman, Miss Prescott, we knew her name. She was pissed when she found out. Said we'd screwed everything up, but she paid us anyway. Told us to disappear and never mention it again. Said if we talked, we'd spend the rest of our lives in prison. Marcus stopped the recording. The silence in the room was deafening. They're willing to testify, Marcus said. They kept evidence. Bank statements showing deposits from an account that traces back to Lorraine, phone records, everything. They've been waiting 19 years for someone to ask the right questions. Edward's face had gone gray. He stood slowly, walked to the window, stared out at nothing. My sister, he whispered. My own sister took my daughter, took my wife, took 19 years of our lives, for money. Emma stood beside him, taking his hand. Now we can prove it. Now we can make sure she pays. Edward turned to her, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw something harder than grief in his eyes. She saw rage. Call the police, he said to Marcus. And call my lawyers. I want Lorraine arrested today. Edward insisted on confronting Lorraine before involving the police. His lawyers advised against it. Let law enforcement handle everything, they said. But Edward was adamant. He needed to hear it from her own mouth. Needed to look his sister in the eye and hear her admit what she'd done. I'm coming with you, Emma said firmly when Edward announced his intention. Emma, I don't think that's wise, if she's capable of what we think she is. She already threatened me. She's already tried to destroy my reputation. I deserve to be there when she finally faces the truth. Emma's jaw set stubbornly. Besides, you shouldn't do this alone. Javier squeezed her hand. We'll both be there. Edward looked at them, this daughter who'd been stolen from him and the man who loved her, and nodded. All right. Together then, as a family. The word family landed like a benediction. Emma felt something warm bloom in her chest, despite the darkness of what lay ahead. They arranged a formal meeting at the Prescott Hotel's corporate offices downtown. Edward told Lorraine it was about the board's concerns, about addressing the allegations she'd been spreading. She agreed immediately, probably thinking she'd won, that Edward was finally turning against Emma. She had no idea what was coming. The conference room was all glass and steel, overlooking downtown Denver, 20 floors up, with views of the mountains in the distance, beautiful and cold. Just like Lorraine herself, she arrived exactly on time, dressed in a sharp black suit, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. She faltered slightly when she saw Emma and Javier sitting beside Edward, but recovered quickly, her mask of polite professionalism sliding into place. I didn't realize this was a family meeting, Lorraine said, setting her designer purse on the table. It is, Edward replied, his voice unnaturally calm. Sit down, Lorraine. Something in his tone made her hesitate. Emma watched Lorraine's eyes flick between them, calculating, assessing threats. She sat slowly, her posture perfect, hands folded on the table. What's this about, Edward? If it's about the board's concerns regarding your situation, I think we should discuss that privately. My situation? Edward repeated flatly. You mean my daughter returning from the dead? Your alleged daughter. The DNA results are questionable at best, and the financial irregularities were fabricated by you, Edward interrupted. We know about the fake bank statements, Lorraine, about your campaign to destroy Emma's credibility, about everything. Lorraine's expression didn't change, but Emma saw her fingers tighten almost imperceptibly on the table. I don't know what you're talking about, don't you? Edward pulled out a folder, laying it open between them. The financial records from 2005 stared up at them like evidence at a trial. June 15, 2005. You withdrew $150,000 in cash. 3 days later, my daughter disappeared. That was 19 years ago. I don't remember every transaction. Then let me help refresh your memory. Edward pulled out another document. Bank statements showing deposits to Ray Kowalski and Tommy Chen. These two men were paid to kidnap Samantha. The money came from you. Lorraine went very still. For just a moment, her mask slipped, and Emma saw raw panic flash across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by cold fury. That's absurd. Where are you getting this information? From her. Lorraine jabbed a finger at Emma. She's been manipulating you from day one, Edward. Can't you see that? She's turned you against your own family. You turned me against my family when you stole my child. Edward's voice cracked like thunder. The calm facade shattered, revealing the rage beneath. You paid men to kidnap her. You destroyed my marriage, killed my wife, stole 19 years of my life. For what? Money. The company. Was it worth it? I don't have to listen to this. Lorraine stood, grabbing her purse. These accusations are insane. I'm calling my lawyer. Sit down. Edward's voice was steel. We have testimony from the men you hired. They kept evidence, bank statements, phone records, everything. They're willing to testify that you paid them to kidnap Samantha and leave her where she'd never be found. Lorraine froze halfway to the door. Slowly, mechanically, she turned back. They're lying. They have proof, Javier said quietly. And Emma's recovering memories of that day. She remembers your voice on the phone, telling them to make her disappear. Lorraine's eyes snapped to Emma. And for the first time, Emma saw genuine fear there. Memories from when she was 5. That's not evidence. That's fantasy. Children's minds are impressionable. Stop, Emma said, standing. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Just stop lying. I know what you did. I remember being in that car, listening to you on the phone with those men. You told them to leave me somewhere I'd never be found. You wanted me dead. That's not true. Lorraine's composure finally cracked. I never wanted you dead. I just wanted you gone, away, where you couldn't take everything that should have been mine. The confession hung in the air, stark and damning. Edward made a sound like he'd been gut-punched. Oh my God. It's true. It's all true. Lorraine seemed to realize what she'd just admitted. Her face went white, then red, cycling through emotions too fast to track. You don't understand. You were going to give her everything. The company, the money, the legacy that should have been mine. I built that empire with you, Edward. I worked just as hard. But because I was born second, because I was just the sister, I got scraps while this brat got the kingdom. She was 5 years old, Edward roared. She was a child, Lorraine, my child, your niece, and you had her kidnapped like she was a business problem to solve. It wasn't supposed to go like this, Lorraine said, her voice rising to match his. She was supposed to disappear, start over somewhere else, be adopted by a family who actually wanted her. She'd have been fine, but those idiots left her in Colorado instead of taking her to the arranged contact in California. They ruined everything. Emma felt sick. Lorraine had planned it all so carefully. Not just kidnapping, but trafficking. Selling her to someone else. Erasing her existence completely. You killed Renata, Edward said, his voice breaking. She died because of you. Because she couldn't live without Samantha. That's on you. Renata was weak, Lorraine spat. She should have gotten over it. Had another child. But no. She had to wallow in grief until it killed her. That's not my fault. Emma had heard enough. She pulled out her phone, pressed stop on the recording app she'd been running since before Lorraine arrived, and held it up. That's a full confession. Everything you just said. Lorraine stared at the phone, comprehension dawning slowly. You recorded me. Every word, Emma confirmed. The door to the conference room opened. 2 police detectives walked in, followed by Edward's head of security. They'd been waiting in the adjacent room, listening through the glass. Lorraine Prescott, one of the detectives said, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, child endangerment, and obstruction of justice. Lorraine backed away, shaking her head frantically. No, you can't do this, Edward. Please, I'm your sister, your family, you can't. You stopped being my family 19 years ago, Edward said coldly. When you decided money was worth more than my daughter's life. As the detective read Lorraine her rights, she turned to Emma one last time. The fear was gone now, replaced by pure venom. "You should have stayed lost," she hissed. "You've ruined everything. Everything I built. Everything I worked for. This is your fault." "No," Emma said quietly. "This is yours. You made these choices. Now you get to live with them." They led Lorraine away in handcuffs, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. Emma watched her go, this woman who'd stolen her childhood, and felt nothing, no satisfaction, no triumph, just emptiness where the anger used to be. Edward sank into a chair, looking utterly destroyed. "My sister," he whispered. "How did I not see it? All these years, she was right there, and I never suspected." Emma knelt beside him, taking his hands. "She fooled everyone. That's what people like her do. I should have protected you better both times, when you were 5, and now I failed you." "No," Emma squeezed his hands. "You found me. You never gave up looking. And when I came back, you believed me. Even when she tried to turn you against me. You didn't fail me, Dad. You saved me." It was the first time she'd called him that. Dad. The word felt strange and right all at once. Edward pulled her into his arms and wept. The media frenzy that followed Lorraine's arrest was overwhelming. The story had everything journalists dreamed of: wealth, betrayal, a long-lost heiress, a family conspiracy spanning nearly 2 decades. Within hours, news vans surrounded the Prescott mansion. Reporters shouted questions whenever Emma or Edward left the house. The Denver Post ran a front-page story. Prescott empire shattered. Sister arrested in decades-old kidnapping plot. Emma and Javier holed up in their apartment for 3 days, ignoring the doorbell, letting calls go to voicemail. But eventually, they had to face the world. Edward's lawyers handled most of it, releasing carefully worded statements. Yes, Dina confirmed Emma was Samantha Prescott. Yes, Lorraine had been arrested. Yes, the family requested privacy during this difficult time. The statements were professional and cold, revealing nothing of the devastation beneath. Lorraine's arraignment was set for the following week. Her lawyers were already spinning damage control, suggesting she'd been coerced into that confession, that the recording was inadmissible. But with Ray Kowalski and Tommy Chen's testimony and the paper trail Marcus had uncovered, the prosecution was confident. She'll go to prison, Edward's lead attorney assured them during a meeting at the mansion. Conspiracy to commit kidnapping carries 15 to 20 years, combined with the other charges. She's looking at significant time. Emma should have felt victorious. Instead, she just felt tired. That evening, she drove to Mount Olivet Cemetery on the outskirts of Denver. She'd gotten the location from Edward, plot 337, near a willow tree that Renata had always loved. The headstone was simple but elegant. Renata Maria Prescott, beloved wife and mother, 1968 to 2008. Forever in our hearts. Emma knelt in the grass, running her fingers over the carved letters. "Hi, Mom. I guess that's what I should call you, right? Even though I don't remember you." The wind rustled through the willow branches, the only response. "I'm sorry I can't remember. Sorry I wasn't here when you needed me. Sorry you died thinking I was gone forever." Emma's voice cracked. "But I'm back now, and I'm going to make sure what happened to us means something. I promise." She stayed there for an hour, talking to a mother she'd never known, crying for the life they should have had together. When she finally left, she felt lighter somehow, like she'd set down a weight she hadn't realized she was carrying. Javier was waiting in the car, patient as always. "How do you feel?" "Like I'm finally saying goodbye to the person I used to be. Emma Carter, the orphan with no past. She's gone now. I'm Samantha Prescott. I'm someone's daughter." Emma wiped her eyes. "I just wish I'd gotten to know my mother." "You know her through Edward," Javier said gently. "Through the stories he tells, the photos he's kept. She's still alive in those things." Emma nodded, leaning against his shoulder as they drove home. She was learning that grief wasn't always about missing someone you remembered. Sometimes it was about mourning what you never got to have. The preliminary hearing was held in a packed courtroom. Emma sat between Edward and Javier, trying to ignore the cameras, the whispers, the weight of hundreds of eyes watching her every move. Lorraine was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, her hair uncombed, makeupless. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her designer armor. When her eyes found Emma across the courtroom, there was no remorse there, only cold, calculating hatred. The prosecution laid out their case with clinical precision. Financial records, testimony from Kowalski and Chen, Emma's recovered memories corroborated by the recording of Lorraine's confession. Expert witnesses explaining how childhood trauma could suppress and later recover memories. Lorraine's defense tried to poke holes. The memories were unreliable. The confession was obtained under duress. The financial transactions could be explained away, but even Emma could see they were grasping at straws. When it came time for victim impact statements, Emma surprised everyone by standing. "I'd like to speak," she said. Her lawyer looked uncertain. "Emma, you don't have to." "I want to." She walked to the podium on shaking legs. Acutely aware of Lorraine's eyes boring into her back, she didn't look at her aunt. Instead, she focused on the judge, on Edward's encouraging nod, on Javier's steady presence. "My name is Emma Carter Prescott," she began, her voice stronger than she felt. "Though for 19 years, I didn't know the second part of that name. I grew up in an orphanage, believing I came from nowhere, belonged to no one. I spent my childhood watching other kids get adopted while I stayed behind. The girl no one wanted." She paused, collecting herself. "What Lorraine Prescott did to me was more than kidnapping. She stole my identity. She robbed me of my mother, who died believing I was dead. She took my father's chance to watch me grow up. She erased 19 years of birthdays, holidays, memories, all the things that make a family." Now Emma did look at Lorraine. "But the thing she didn't count on was that love is stronger than greed. My father never stopped looking for me, never gave up hope. And when I walked back into his life, he recognized me immediately, not because of a photograph or a DNA test, but because that's what real family does. They see you." Emma's voice hardened. "So yes, I want justice. I want Lorraine to face the consequences of what she did. But more than that, I want the world to know that she failed. She tried to make me disappear, but I'm still here. I survived, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure the 19 years she stole from us matter." The courtroom was silent when Emma sat down. Edward reached over and squeezed her hand, tears streaming down his face. Lorraine was denied bail. Flight risk, the judge declared. She'd remain in custody pending trial. As they let her out, Lorraine turned one last time. "You'll never really be a Prescott," she called to Emma, her voice sharp with desperation. "You're still just an orphan playing dress-up in a life that doesn't belong to you." Emma met her gaze steadily. "I'm exactly where I belong. You're the one who doesn't fit anymore." The trial wouldn't happen for months, but the preliminary hearing had done its job. The evidence was overwhelming. Lorraine's lawyers were already talking about plea deals, trying to reduce the sentence in exchange for a guilty plea. 20 years minimum, Edward's attorney told them over dinner that night at the mansion. "With her age and the severity of the crime, she'll likely die in prison." Edward stared into his wineglass. "She's my sister. I should feel something. Grief, anger, something. But I'm just empty. That's normal," Emma said softly. "You're grieving the sister you thought you had, the person she pretended to be. That's a real loss." "How are you so wise?" Edward asked, managing a small smile. "Therapy," Emma replied with a slight laugh. "Lots and lots of therapy." They spent the evening going through photo albums, Edward telling stories about Samantha, about Emma, the birthday party where she'd insisted on wearing a mermaid costume, even though it wasn't a costume party, the time she'd smuggled a stray cat into her room and named it Princess Whiskers, the afternoon she'd painted an entire wall with modern art using Renata's expensive makeup. "She sounds like a handful," Emma said, studying a photo of a tiny girl with chocolate on her face and mischief in her eyes. "She was perfect," Edward said simply. "You were perfect, and you still are." Later, as Emma and Javier prepared to leave, Edward caught her hand. "I know I missed 19 years. I can't get those back, but I'd like to be part of the years going forward if you'll let me." Emma hugged him tight. "I'd like that too, Dad." The word still felt new, but it was getting easier every time she said it. Driving home, Emma watched the city lights blur past the window. Justice was coming for Lorraine. The truth was finally out. She had a father who loved her, a husband who supported her, and a future that was finally, truly, hers. "You okay?" Javier asked. Glancing over, Emma thought about it. Really, thought about it. The nightmares were fading. The empty space where her past used to be was filling with new memories, new connections. The girl who'd been lost was finally found. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "I really am." 6 months later, Emma stood in the gardens of the Prescott mansion, watching the sunset paint the Colorado mountains in shades of amber and rose. The air smelled of jasmine. Edward had planted an entire row of jasmine bushes along the garden path, the same flower Renata had loved, the scent that had haunted Emma's fragmented memories for years. So much had changed. Lorraine's trial had lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 25 years in federal prison. She'd be 77 when she got out. If she survived that long, Emma had attended every day of the trial, sitting in the front row beside Edward. She'd watched her aunt's mask finally, permanently crumble on the day of sentencing. Lorraine had looked at her one last time. No hatred now, just hollow defeat. "I hope you're happy," Lorraine had said flatly. Emma had considered the question seriously. "I'm not happy you're going to prison. I'm not happy about any of this, but I'm finally free. So yeah, I guess in a way, I am." That had been 2 months ago. Since then, life had settled into a new rhythm. Emma had legally reclaimed the name Samantha, though most people still called her Emma. It felt right, having both, honoring the girl she'd been and the woman she'd become. Emma Samantha Carter Prescott, a name that told her whole story. She'd joined the board of Prescott Hotels, much to the surprise of the old guard who doubted her. Edward had insisted, and Emma discovered she had a knack for the business. Her eye for design translated beautifully into hotel renovations and brand development. She was also working with Edward to establish the Renata Prescott Foundation, dedicated to helping missing children and supporting families dealing with abduction. "We can't give those 19 years back," Emma had said when proposing the foundation, "but we can help other families avoid losing theirs." Edward had agreed immediately, his eyes wet with grateful tears. Behind her, Emma heard footsteps on the garden path. She turned to find Javier walking toward her, handsome in his dark suit, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. "Thought you might need this before the ceremony," he said, handing her one. "Is it time already?" "5 minutes. Everyone's waiting." Emma took a sip of champagne, letting the bubbles calm her nerves. Today they were renewing their vows, the wedding they should have had, with Emma's father present to walk her down the aisle. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family in the mansion's garden. Nothing like the elaborate first wedding that had accidentally started this whole chain of revelations. "Nervous?" Javier asked, taking her hand. "A little. Is that weird? We're already married." "Not weird at all." He kissed her forehead. "This is different. This is you choosing us with your whole history, your whole self. No more missing pieces." Emma smiled. Squeezing his hand, he'd been her rock through everything. The nightmares, the trial, the media circus, the complicated process of integrating into a family and a legacy she'd never expected. He'd never wavered, never complained, just loved her steadily through it all. "Thank you," she said softly, "for standing by me through this insanity. Always," Javier replied simply. "That's what the vows mean, right? For better or worse. We just got the worst part out of the way early." Inside the mansion, Emma found Edward waiting in the foyer. Looking distinguished in his tuxedo, his eyes lit up when he saw her in her simple white dress. Not a wedding gown this time, just something elegant and comfortable. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Don't cry yet," Emma teased gently. "Save it for the actual ceremony. No promises." Edward offered his arm. "Ready." Emma took it, feeling the solidness of him beside her. 6 months ago, he'd been a stranger. Now he was her father in every sense that mattered. They'd been building their relationship slowly, carefully, weekly dinners, phone calls, shared memories, learning each other. The music started, something classical and beautiful. Edward led her through the French doors onto the terrace, where white chairs were arranged in neat rows. Emma saw familiar faces. Javier's enormous family, friends from work, even Sister Margaret from the orphanage, who'd cried with joy when Emma had tracked her down to invite her. And at the altar, Beneath an arch of white roses and jasmine, Javier waited with that smile that had made her fall in love with him in the first place. The ceremony was short and perfect. They'd written their own vows this time. "Emma," Javier began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "6 months ago, I married a woman who was searching for her past. Today, I'm renewing my vows to a woman who's found it. You're not the lost girl anymore. You're Samantha. You're Emma. You're my wife. You're Edward's daughter. You're whole. And I'm honored to spend the rest of my life loving every part of you." Emma's turn. She'd written and rewritten her vows a dozen times, trying to capture everything she felt. "Javi, you loved me when I was nobody, when I had no history, no family, nothing to offer but myself. You saw me, really saw me, when I didn't even know who I was looking at in the mirror. You held me through nightmares and trials and revelations that could have destroyed us. You stood by me when I had to face the woman who stole my childhood, and you're still here, still loving me, still choosing me every single day. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I promise to spend forever being worthy of that love." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. When they kissed, the small crowd erupted in applause. Emma laughed against Javier's lips, happier than she could remember being in her entire life. The reception was simple. Catered dinner on the terrace, toasts from family and friends, dancing under string lights as the stars came out. Edward gave a speech that had everyone crying again. "I spent 19 years believing my daughter was gone forever," he said, raising his glass. "Believing I'd failed her, that I'd never get to see the woman she'd become. But life, somehow, gave me a second chance. Emma, Samantha, you are everything your mother and I dreamed you'd be. Strong, kind, resilient, beautiful inside and out. And Javier, thank you for loving my daughter, for being the family she needed when I couldn't be there. Welcome to the Prescott family." Both of you. As the evening wore on, Emma found herself standing at the garden's edge again, looking out at the mountains. Edward joined her, 2 glasses of wine in hand. "Thank you for this," Emma said, accepting a glass. "For everything. For never giving up. For believing me. For fighting for me. Thank you for coming back," Edward replied. "For giving an old man the greatest gift imaginable. His daughter." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge one by one. "Do you ever wonder," Emma asked, "about what life would have been like if Lorraine hadn't done what she did? If I'd grown up here with you and Mom?" Edward considered it. "Every day. But then I think, if that had happened, you wouldn't be exactly who you are now. The experiences that shaped you, good and bad, made you into this incredible woman standing beside me, and I wouldn't change that for anything. Even the bad parts. Even those. Because they brought us here. To this moment. Together." Emma leaned her head on her father's shoulder, and they watched the night settle over the gardens. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear Javier laughing at something one of his cousins said. Life was going on, moving forward, building something new from the ashes of what was lost. The past no longer hurt. The years stolen from them would always be gone, but they'd made peace with that loss. What mattered now was the future, the years they'd get to spend as father and daughter, building memories to replace the ones they'd missed. As the golden sunset faded into twilight and the first stars appeared overhead, Emma understood something fundamental. She'd spent her whole life searching for where she belonged, but belonging wasn't about the past you came from or the years you lost. It was about the people who chose to love you, the family you built from broken pieces, the home you created in the wreckage of what was destroyed. She was Emma. She was Samantha. She was a daughter, a wife, a survivor. She was finally and completely home.